Hello to another video about filmmaking, photography and the creative work behind, and welcome to California. Yes, I got the chance to travel again and I wanted to use this time to also create a new video for this channel and give it a little bit of another setting as usual. For everybody who's new to this channel, my name is Tim and I'm a freelancer in video production and photography from Germany. Maybe some of you are already waiting for the Fujifilm XT4 masterclass video, and let me tell you, it is coming. I just want to make this video perfect, that you get the most out of this free masterclass. But in this video I also want to talk about the Fujifilm XT4 and make a full review of the last 8 months using this camera as my main camera for photography and video, and also for client work. So let's go. The build quality of the Fujifilm XT4 feels very solid and durable, and it's also built completely weather sealed, so you can use this camera also in very rough conditions like very dusty or rainy areas. On the one hand, the camera is small enough to work really good as a travel camera, but on the other hand it's also big enough to give you a really nice handle and grip of the body. The dials on top of the camera gives you a really nostalgic feeling, but if you need it a little bit faster and easier to reach with one hand, you can also set the aperture, ISO and shutter speed to the front and back dials of the camera. In general, the camera gives you a lot of customizable function buttons which you can set to your likings, and the menu system is really easy to handle and intuitive. But I don't have a comparison to the menu system of Sony or Canon cameras. The Fujifilm XT4 is the first Fujifilm camera with a built-in image stabilization system. So it was a huge step for Fujifilm to keep up with the great competitors like Sony and Canon. But as you maybe expect, the image stabilization system is not as good as like in the Panasonic GH5, for example, where it's used already since 2017. It's good enough for doing small B-roll stuff or small camera pans, but if you want to do a lot of vlogging style like I do right now, maybe it's not the best camera, because sometimes you get some ugly wobbles in the edges when doing vlogging style like I do right now. So please consider this when buying the camera. I turn off the IBIS system completely very often because I really like the natural handheld look you get from this camera. Talking about stills and video quality, I always prefer to see some real footage in those camera reviews, so I will handle it the same and show you my footage from my 24 hours in California. And while you see the footage, I will change up my location. In the XT4 you have a wide variety of frame rates and codecs. You can choose between 4K up to 60 frames and 1080 up to 240 frames, which is equal to 10 times slow motion. At 240 frames the image gets a little soft, so I would recommend you to stick maximum to 200 frames per second. In terms of color, you are able to film in camera up to 10-bit, which gives you more information about color and a lot of flexibility in color grading in post. And when you add an Atomos Ninja 5 to your setup as a recorder, you can also film in ProRes 10-bit 42, which is a really nice codec to work with and gives you a lot of options to color grade. When I compare the autofocus of my Fujifilm XT4 to my previous GH5, it's a big upgrade. But when you compare it to current Sony or Canon cameras, the autofocus isn't that good. on the X-T4, the autofocus ability really depends on what lens you are using. So far I have tried the Sigma 18-35 adapted with the Fringer EF2 FX Pro 2, some Viltrox lenses, for example the 23mm f1.4 and the native Fujifilm 16-55 f2.8 lens, and I must say the autofocus is good enough for my work. But to be honest with you, when you are, for example, a wedding filmmaker and you have to rely for 100% on your autofocus system, maybe the Fujifilm X-T4 isn't the right camera for you. In the following, I show you some different clips in low light situations, filmed with different ISO levels, and somehow the Fujifilm camera managed it that the ISO grain looks really a lot like the old film stock grain, which I really like. And it seems that the Fujifilm camera also have dual native ISO at 640 and 2000, so the image gets a little bit cleaner at ISO 2000. It's not that crazy with his Sony A7S III, where you get dual native ISO at, I don't know, 12,000 or even higher, but it works really great. Okay, I think we have to talk about some negatives about the X-T4 right now. And I've really tried hard to find some things which I don't like about the camera, and I can name you two things which I really miss in this camera. The first thing is sometimes I miss some advanced filming tools in camera, like waveforms or the anamorphic mode. But when you add a recorder like the Atomos Ninja V to your setup, you get a ton of advanced filming tools in that little device, so that's fine for me. And the second thing is I really miss my custom modes from the GH5. It was really nice and easy to switch between your real-time filming mode and your slow motion mode just with one click. And in the X-T4 it's a little bit more complicated. It's totally fine, you just have to do 2 or 3 clicks and you get the right settings. But it was really easy with the GH5, and I think it's really easy to update the Fujifilm X-T4 to that you can just set some custom modes and always got the right settings for your filming. But there are also a lot of things I really like about this camera. First off, the design is really nice. It looks like an old film camera. It has a really nostalgic design, and it just looks more characteristic than a Sony camera for me. Another feature which I don't want to miss anymore is the white balance lock function. So the camera can set the white balance by itself, which works really good by the way. And then with one click to one function button, you can lock the white balance that the camera will not change white balance during filming, and this is a really nice feature. Another thing is you have a huge option of lenses for your Fujifilm camera. You can choose between the native Fujifilm lenses, third-party brands like Viltrox, which also has really great autofocus. You can adapt lenses from Canon EF glass to your Fujifilm camera with a Fringer adapter, and you also have really cheap third-party brands with manual focus like 7 Artisans or TT Artisans or Samyang lenses. They all work really great and give you really great results. And last but not least, we have to name the Fujifilm film simulations like Eterna, Classic Chrome and so much more. They look great on stills, they look great in video footage, and you get some really great results without any further editing in Lightroom or color grading in your video editing software. So sadly, I have to film the last part of this review back at my place in Germany because my time management was really bad at this 24 hours road trip at Big Sur or California, and I am not satisfied with my footage I shot at this day at all. It feels like I always were in the wrong place at the wrong time. But sometimes you got these days where nothing works like you planned it before, so back to the final thoughts. I know a lot of you are always looking for the perfect camera, but let me tell you, there is no perfect camera. And in my opinion, the Fujifilm X-T4 is a pretty good hybrid camera which you can use for photography and video work as well. And if you just have a smaller budget, I can really recommend to check out the XT3, which is a really great camera also and has nearly the same specs as the XT4, just without the IBIS and some smaller features. Hopefully you liked my long-term review about the Fujifilm XT4, and if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. If you like reviews like this and videos about filmmaking and photography, maybe consider to subscribe. We're just at the beginning of this YouTube channel and I've got some really nice plans for the new year. And as always, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully see you in the next one. Bye und auf Wiedersehen.